Welcome to Out of Home Insider, the loudest voice in out of home. It's funny, a lot of people stop and ask me, they say, Tim, what's that mean? What does it mean to be the loudest voice in out of home? A lot of folks assume it has something to do with being louder than other industry trade coverage. It actually has nothing to do with anyone other than the community that is out of home. Whether you're a big operation, a small operation, have unique marketing insights, or a ton of out-of-home expertise, this is a platform to help the community grow, the community to learn. So I invite you to subscribe, follow, share. Please do all those things that help the community of out-of-home grow through this podcast, through the amazing guests that we have. It's all about democratization. And that's one of the reasons I'm most excited to be a part of the team at OneScreen.ai, where we're bringing buyers and sellers together to help brands win. If you want to learn more about what we're doing at OneScreen, visit onescreen.ai. Without further ado, let's go.
Welcome, everybody, to the Out of Home Insider Show, a podcast like no other, hosted by the one and only Tim Rowe. Get ready to have some knowledge dropped on you and to be entertained, because nothing's more valuable than food for your brain. So sit back, relax, we're about to dive in as the best industry podcast is about to begin.
Throw on record because usually these things just start and then we're off to the races. But it's legit, man. I love The Office. I love the screen in the back. Oh, that was cool. It just did like this. The logo's like whoosh.
Yeah, this is actually some of your recommendation to focus on the X. You know, so
really?
We made that a little bigger.
I love it, man. And it's kind of got this like sport feel, which I'm sure you were going for, but it feels like
exactly
X Games ish.
Totally.
Awesome. And I like the sticker at the bottom, kind of make it look like a billboard or something with the
Yeah, it's funny. We went around and started putting those stickers on, and it's one of those small things that you overlook at a certain point. And I think you talked to him, Kenny Rowell at Interstate Outdoor.
Haven't yet. We're getting Kenny now. We're coming for you, Kenny. We got to have you on.
Yeah. So Ken's a great friend of mine, has been a tremendous mentor and getting into this space. And he just said, "Hey, why don't you have like a sticker on the bottom of every screen?"
Right, like it seems so obvious, and then oh, that's a good idea.
And when he mentioned it to me, I said, we're going to make it look exactly like, we looked at probably 10, 20 different, those little bottom icons on a billboard. And
sure.
We mocked this up, spread it out, and then started putting the stickers everywhere.
I dig it. Well, before there were ever stickers on screens, someone came up with a wild idea to start Venue X. Like maybe we just start at the beginning with like a proper introduction and how you got into the space.
Absolutely. So it's interesting. And, I'm a big fan of the podcast, and I've listened to every episode, and it's always interesting for me to hear other people's stories too, to say, they fell into this out of home space. And, we're no different. We certainly didn't plan on this. 10 years ago, this wasn't the plan. I started coaching lacrosse back in 2010, and a camp grew into a clinic, grew into a club team, and I ended up working full time with a buddy of mine. Quitting my job, and a buddy of mine had a bigger camp clinic club series going, and I joined him, and we grew that out, ended up merging with a couple other clubs in the state, and our lacrosse club grew. So really, I started in the sports space. I played lacrosse in college at Bowdoin College, and played a little bit after and coached after, and we grew the club, and we ended up, two of my partners bought sports facilities.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we were in the Plymouth Sports Complex, 45 minutes south of the city, and the Cohasset Sports Complex. And we realized very quickly this audience is massive that comes in and out of there. And I'm talking pre-pandemic. you've got very affluent, higher than average household income coming to these venues multiple times a week,
Sure.
whether it's for soccer practice, hockey, lacrosse, basketball, volleyball, you name it. And we were selling ads on the walls, banner ads.
Like proper printed banners.
Yeah. Huge, some big, some small, varying pricing. We knew there was a market there. And we started exploring some options on how do we, without, selling out and making it look like NASCAR.
It's a great analogy.
How do we take this tremendous audience we have? And I think at our peak, before we were acquired, we had somewhere around 1,200 athletes in our program.
Wow. And that was
across
just
the
through
state.
the camps.
Yeah, these were club teams.
Okay.
So, year round, train a couple times a week, go to tournaments. A lot of folks might be familiar with like AAU baseball or AAU
Sure.
basketball. There's no AAU per se for lacrosse, but that's what we were. And inside of these facilities.
And Fitz, real quick, for anyone not familiar with athletics at that level, it takes a certain level of income and time, right? It's a huge time and financial commitment for these families. You talked a little bit about the audience that Venue X reaches. Maybe if you could draw a little bit more color onto that, the specifics of the audience.
Sure.
It sounds like that was kind of pivotal in developing the idea.
Yeah, it absolutely. I mean, the audience was the number one thing that we knew. There are advertisers out there that want to reach these folks that are spending upwards of $10,000 a year on average. Maybe not just on lacrosse, but hockey, club fee, travel, uniforms, skates. Now they're out 2 hours away from their house. They got to go out to eat after a game. They're going to travel 6 hours in the car to Pennsylvania for a tournament. They're going to get a hotel. They're going to get flights. They're going to, a lot of them have second homes. They're going to go on vacation. We actually have in the works right now a really interesting video ad that we're making following the trail of some of my buddies who are coaches on why they bought a Yeti. Okay.
So that's cool.
And just saying like, hey, this guy is in this rink 2 times a week. He's in this facility over here. And they all bought Yetis because, they saw their friend came to the Cook Backyard Cookout with the Yeti. And that friend also goes to the rink, et cetera, et cetera. So,
and that's how it happens. We're here with Brian Fitzgibbons, one of the founders of Venue X, and we're learning all about how Venue X reaches an active, affluent market all across New England, right? Is that primarily your footprint?
Yeah, so we're all across New England. Now I'll back up, and I apologize. I skipped around a little bit.
Not at all. We just roll right into it.
We were coaching. We were growing our club. Writing was on the wall that we were going to get acquired by a great company called 3 Step Sports that's doing some tremendous things in the youth and amateur sports space right now, in really providing opportunities for a lot of athletes that don't have the financial means to participate at the same level. So 3 Steps doing some great things in not only in the lacrosse community, but in softball, basketball, football, you name it. And anyways, as that was happening, I was looking at this and I said, hey, we've sold a lot of banner ads on the walls. We actually had a screen in the Plymouth Sports Complex that we had a USB thumb drive in. And we would use the screen. So if we'd go around, literally go around door to door in the community to sell the banner ads. And if they didn't want to invest in a banner ad, a big 10 by 10 foot banner on the wall, we would say, hey, you can get on this loop on this USB drive, and it will cost a little bit less for the year. And we started selling those. So we knew that there was a market there. And that turned into quite literally. One of my best buddies from elementary school was my business partner, Mark Groundberg. And we loaded up Mark's SUV. We call it the War Wagon. And we literally drove around hanging up screens for the next, call it 14 months.
Wow. So it grew pretty quick.
Yeah, it grew quick. I mean, we're in 70% of the sports facilities in New England. So we reach the majority of that sports audience. I mean, it's that family amateur sports audience. And our screens are in lobby areas, spectator areas. Some venues are huge and big, brand new, beautiful. Some are really small and have been there for a long time. And the screen placements are all fairly consistent, that this audience is going to spend about a little over an hour inside of the venue for the most part. You know,
which is incredible. Dwell time is something that we hear about and talk about and brands care about. These folks are hanging out there with nothing to do but watch their kid play sports for an hour.
Exactly. And that was something that, you know, at first it was speed over strategy on where we were putting the screens. And then we started to get some really good strategic advice from, you know, guys like I mentioned, Ken Rowell, John Carroll at Carroll Advertising, who'd be a great guy for you to talk to. He's got a number of big digital billboards around the Boston area. And then we started to really zero in on where do we put these screens to get the most engagement. And we started using AdMobilize. And we have AdMobilize deployed at any given time, probably on 10% of our screens. And that started to help us better understand, you know, not only the foot traffic in and out of the venues, but which screens were in good spots and which screens were in bad spots.
Interesting. What did you look for? Because camera technology is something that it comes up in conversation. You're the first person that I've talked to that's used it in the way that you just described. Like, what were the things that you observed by having cameras installed?
The biggest takeaway, and how we got, I'll back up and say how we got into it is, I think like everybody else who's got these screens in a place-based environment, you know, whether it's a gym or a barbershop or, you know, nail salon, or for us in hockey rinks, everybody's super focused on what do they need to do as a media owner or screen owner to connect to programmatic revenue, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, we can count the cell phones on a geofence or through near field communication. That's great. We could have somebody literally sit there and audit that screen, you know, and count how many people, how many eyeballs looked at it. But we realized, I think I met Mike Neal at the DPAA summit. I'm not 100% sure where we first met or how we first met, but Mike was great at explaining, Mike Neal from AdMobilize, of explaining how we can use that data to actually track screen glances. Because for us, you know, we were certainly aware that there are some of our screens that people are just blowing by to get to the locker room. And we're okay with that because we might have 2 or 3 other screen placements around the venue. But we wanted to know which screens actually were getting the eyeballs as we were deploying, you know, 25 more screens the next month, 50 more screens the next month, you know, make sure we're putting them in the right areas. So how we use that data specifically was to say, at first we were thinking, okay, this is the next jump that we need to make in order to connect to programmatic. But the real benefit that came out of it was unforeseen, which was to help guide where we're putting these screens in the future. So we want to replicate, you know, find commonalities. That is this screen near a vending machine, for instance. Yeah, those screens tend to get a lot more impressions tracked on AdMobilize because people are hanging around in there. They can't bring their food or drink into the court or the ice. So they're going to the vending machine, getting their snack, hanging out in the lobby, looking at the screen. So that's just one caveat, but the real impact that those AdMobilize units have had for us is helping to guide where to put these screens in the future and what are the commonalities around these good screen placements.
It makes a lot of sense too when you think about like Facebook. Facebook's a perfect analog for this. Facebook has different ad placements, and Facebook knows the different ad placements, whether that's in the news feed or the marketplace or suggested videos. They know that different placements are going to have different levels of engagement, and you've used technology to replicate that in the real world.
Exactly, and it's amazing. You know, we've had so much free advice given to us by so many people, too many to name on here. And I was, prior to coming on here, I was thinking about listing them all out. And but this out of home industry is so unique in a lot of ways because there's not many people you can't pick up the phone and call that they're willing to take a look at what you're doing and offer their best advice on this. And we've been fortunate to have a number of friends either in the industry or on the periphery of it that have given us some really great advice along the way. Because I'll tell you, Mark and I, we certainly to build a network in the majority of hockey rinks and indoor turfs in New England was we were lucky in the sense that we had that built-in network because this is a fragmented audience, right? I mean, most of these rinks are owned by the individual owners. They're all separate businesses. So
it's not just one franchise that you
correct
get in there and it's all done. Like there's a lot of heavy lifting along the way.
Yeah. And it takes, you know, as you know, with a small team, it takes just as long to set up a venue relationship with a single rink as it does with somebody who owns 7 rinks. In a weird way, it just,
sure,
you know, the amount of time put in there and we're able to scale that pretty quickly. Thankfully, I was in the sports space locally for long enough time that I had enough of those relationships to speed that process up. And then it just turned into following the playbook. And we thankfully had some great coaches and advisors along the way and telling us how to do things and, you know, giving us their take on it. And sometimes we agreed, sometimes we disagreed, but you know, the network was built, Mark and I, the majority of these, actually every screen in our network, we've put our hands on. You know, we either literally mounted it into the wall or connected our device on the back of it. There are very few out there that we've shipped a device to. I think it's in the under 10 out of hundreds. So it's been an awesome experience to do that. And I think we've gained a unique perspective being on the road like that and seeing every screen. You know, we're inside of those venues. We get a good understanding of where people are walking, where they're going. We meet the venue owner and or the rink manager, as the case might be. And we're focused really on that relationship first with our venue owners and our rinks and our turfs to make sure that they're able to use the screens too to sell their own programs. You know, so they're doing some really cool things about announcing tryouts earlier on the screens. You know, when they have a new team or a new tournament coming into their facility, that's going up on the screens, making everybody aware. And they've had a lot of success with that. So it's been an awesome journey so far. I'll tell you that.
I'm sure. How many venues and how many screens total, if you had to roll it all up?
In total, right now, we went into the pandemic with just about 100 venues and a little over 300 screens. Right now, wide open and active, we're just about hovering around 75 venues and a little under 300 screens. So we're hopeful that all of the venues will come back to life, back online. And I'll take a minute to say that it's, you know, the pandemic has been challenging for everybody. And and it's been particularly challenging for sports venues, especially up here in Massachusetts. They've faced some really strict regulations from the Massachusetts Department of Health. And the resiliency that our venue partners have shown to stay open is absolutely tremendous. I mean, it's inspiring to us as well, that to stay in the fight, so to speak. These venues were locked down for 6 months. I mean, literally not allowed to have anybody inside of them. And it's just amazing to me what these guys and girls have done to bring their they brought their programs virtual. They went outdoors. They figured out ways to keep their programs alive for the athletes, the youth athletes that were in them. And they figured out a way to get their venues back to life once they were able to open back up. And that's why our focus is with them, to make sure we're solving problems for the venues first, and then allowing our advertising partners to access that audience, right? So we want to make sure the venues are taken care of and they understand the system and to use it and sell their own programs. And then the second piece is bringing those advertisers and giving them the opportunity to speak to that audience.
How easy is it? I think it matters, right? As brands evaluate things like data consent and how do we use data. I think that out of home continues to become more powerful because frankly, we don't need your data. We have real world behavior. If you're actually interested in sports and you're an active family and you have disposable income, pretty good chance that they're going to be at a Venue X location. How easy is it for a rink manager or a facilities manager to operate this? Is it much in terms of their side of managing it? Or do y'all handle most of the back end? What's that look like in case there's somebody listening that's interested in bringing their facility on board?
That's one of the key components. When we, at the outset, we knew that whatever we were asking these sports venue owners to do, or these managers to do, had to be super simple. And that's not to say that they're not nuanced technologically. It's just that these guys and girls wear a lot of hats. Sure. So they're coaching a team at 3 p.m. They're making a new sheet of ice on the Zamboni at 6. They're setting up a registration at night, going home, eating a quick dinner, waking up the next morning, doing the same thing. So we knew that we couldn't have a system for them to log into, or a content management system for them to log into that was complicated, that was going to just create a new hour-long piece of work a week or 2 hours a week. It had to be quick. So we've got a very simple system. It's very easy. If a venue had a screen that used to have Comcast on it or has a thumb drive in it right now, we can literally get them set up same day, if we can drive out there, or we ship it to them, and they plug it into the back of the screen, they log in. And if you can, what we always say is, if you can make a post on Facebook, you can use our content management system, that, you're skilled enough technologically to use this and understand it. And that's gone a long way for us. I mean, it's streamlined. The training takes 15 minutes, and then there are never any questions at the end, which is great for us, and really good for the venue partners, because now they have the ability to utilize. They have some intermittent staff. There's some commonalities around these venues, that they'll have some younger, recent college grads who work part-time and help out with marketing programs, and the ability for them to be able to change the screens remotely versus having to be there with a computer hooked up to it, or however they were doing it before, really changes things.
Yeah, that's huge. Definitely. And what do you see in terms of the brand impact, right? There's a lot of good things going on here, and that we can, it's really like that community level thing, maybe something that was only ever available to, Joe's Pizza down the street or the local tire shop. But this is an opportunity for brands to be able to reach that audience on a hyper local, on a hyper targeted basis with measurement, kind of at scale. Do you see brands using it that way?
Absolutely. And that is so exciting to us. And that's the number one reason that we did this, is basically aggregate a fragmented audience, right? And put it in one spot that, if you were one of our great advertising partners is Convenient MD. They're a urgent care facilities, and they're popping up all over New England right now. And we work hand in hand with them on helping to identify community-based sports venues to advertise in. And they'll put up a 40-foot banner, like a huge, they do it right. They'll put up a huge banner. They'll go on our screens. They'll have a stand-up display with handouts about how if your kid breaks his arm, he can go get a cast. If your daughter needs a sports physical, they can shoot right in there same day and get an appointment. And they're all over the venue using the screens and using our measurement to identify where to go in a radius of their urgent care centers. And the thing that's so exciting about how they're doing that and validated our hypothesis that this audience is desired by advertisers that want to be in front of the community. And, we were talking about, Mark and I were talking about your episode with Linwood Bibbids.
Of course.
And he was talking about his audience, saying that these are the tastemakers, right? Yep. And in a hyper local sense, these are the tastemakers. When he said that, it resonated with me so much because, like it or not, the hockey coach talks to a lot of people. The lacrosse coach, the parent on the lacrosse team, the soccer team, they buy that Yeti cooler and 4 other people buy it. These are hyper local tastemakers, and brands, especially regional brands, is really our sweet spot. Like a Convenient MD that's saturating New England right now is perfect for us because we reach so many people over and over again inside of their geography. And that's one of the things I think we're so excited about what's going on with OneScreen and working with you guys on some things, is we can kind of bridge that gap between what we're able to do as a screen owner and a network owner to what that regional brand needs to get back from a measurement reporting, remarketing perspective, where OneScreen really bridges that for us very well.
And we love it. We love it because our brands love it. Our brands are audience focused. They're typically non-participants. They haven't done out of home before. They're not particularly in love with one format or another. They just want to reach the audience with measurements so that they can optimize for outcomes. What's next on the roadmap for Venue X? I think you just added some new facilities, some baseball facilities. What's it look like over the next 12 months?
We've got a great partnership growing with Frozen Ropes Baseball. They're one of the premier baseball training facilities in the country. They've got 10 locations nationwide, and we're going to be connecting screens into those facilities and growing with them. We're real excited about that. Where our network's growing in the New York DMA, in the Boston DMA, I would say, there are certainly some places we still want to track down, but for the most part, we're pretty well saturated up here. And
he's being humble. They own it. They own New England. If you're trying to reach that audience, exactly. Period, it's probably in New England. If you're trying to reach that audience specifically in New England, there's only one way to do it, and it's Venue X.
That's right. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So we're focused on really, one of the silver linings of this COVID pandemic has been having to come off the road and focus on processes that could, or how to improve them. So my business partner, Mark, has done some really excellent work to streamline how could we remotely connect to a venue, and he's built some training videos and documents and streamline that process where we can drop ship devices to folks. That we hadn't been doing that before, because for us, the relationship side of things was so important, that Mark and I want to be out there in front of the venue owner, literally put up the screen, show them how to do it. When that option was taken off the table, Mark did some awesome stuff and, building out a way that we can simplify getting the screen hooked up there and plant the flag. And then when we get there, or shipping them all at one time. And I'll tell you, we're excited. We've got a couple of things that are in the works that we're super excited about from a new venue perspective. But what I'll say is we're starting to plant flags all over the New York DMA. We're starting to move outside of New England, which is exciting to us. And, I think partnerships with folks like you guys at One Screen and David Weinfeld and Adam Malone at Screenverse, really just seeing everything come together for a place-based media owner like we are. We're starting to get more aggressive now, right? Coming out of the pandemic, it's like we're out of the corner. We're throwing punches again.
Let's go.
We're hooking up screens on a weekly basis. And our vision is really to go Boston, New York, and then kind of take a tactical pause and analyze and think where the next DMA to hit is. And, that could be Philadelphia. I'm not positive what's after New York right now, but New York's in our crosshairs for sure.
Well, we're going to have to do a follow-up to this and talk about all that when it comes online. What's something that you learned during COVID that you never thought you would learn?
That's a good question. We got creative during COVID. I mean, we're building landing pages for people that don't have websites to advertise on our network. We have done a lot, learned quite a bit from the guys over at Centro on, remarketing and trying to provide a solution. What we had to do really was provide more solutions to the advertisers than we typically needed to, right? Because a lot of the folks that we work with, and it's really speaks to the democratization of buying out a home, through a buying tool like Flip Billboards or something like that, where there are regional brands that aren't yet big enough for an agency.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the money to spend month to month on an agency, but they understand they've done campaigns with agencies, so they get what they should be buying. And if they want this audience, they want to buy, let's say, 20 of our facilities, put up banners, go on the screens. They know that they should be remarketing to a location-based audience, but they don't maybe know exactly how to do it themselves. So we had to figure out a way to provide that without bringing an agency in that's going to give them a big bill.
Sure.
To get some deals done. And, I think it's not a long-term thing, but it was, something that we had to do to be flexible. And I think it provided us a lot of really good insights into what the needs, wants, demands of the advertiser is, like of the brand. How do they need to see this on the back end? How does our network relate with a bigger campaign? And that was a huge learning experience, one that we did not expect to get into prior to COVID. We've done everything from build somebody a website that they didn't have one, like the quote unquote Joe's Pizzas of the world. Sure. Build them a website so we could send the ad could send somebody somewhere. So it's been a real good test to see how flexible we are, see how agile we can be.
It makes sense. It's that adapt and overcome attitude. Brian, thank you for your service. Brian, like myself, once upon a time, we spent some time in the Marine Corps. So I guess that's a problem. You know, if there's a problem, yep, we can solve it. And you put a couple of jar heads on Out of Home, we might figure a thing or two out.
Absolutely. and hey, at a minimum, we have that, the old Marine Corps term, violence of action. I mean, we came like a bat out of hell, driving around all in New England, just slapping screens up everywhere. And we're looking forward to, as this vaccine takes hold, getting out there and doing the same thing. Just being, brilliant at the basics, so to speak, is something that we pride ourselves on. And just swinging that axe every day. I mean, we're hitting the road and getting things done and growing the network. I think that's the key takeaway that we've gotten from the COVID, aside from, okay, yep, we were agile. We ran some campaigns, with some great partners like Centro, and, we've learned a lot for sure. And now we say, all right, what is our fundamental, what's the number one thing we need to keep doing? And for us, that's growing the network, that's getting more of this audience under our umbrella. And that's what we're really focused on, is grow, and be able to provide an easy connection to that audience through partnerships like ours with OneScreen.
Absolutely. If I said former Marines, for the critics out there, once Marine, always Marine, but they wouldn't let us have beards and nice things like this.
That's right.
If we're still active, dude. That's all the distinction is. Brian, are you a podcast guy? Are you a reader? What do you do? Where do you go for motivation, inspiration, education?
The OOH Insider is always my first stop.
Appreciate it.
But I'm definitely, a game changer for me was downloading Audible on my phone. So I've always got a book going on Audible. I'm a big podcast guy. I'm listening from everything from your show to Rogan, Lex Friedman, you name it.
Love Lex Friedman. I don't know anything about AI. That's why I listen to Lex Friedman.
It's fascinating stuff. And, the books, actually I'm reading or listening. I say reading to sound smarter.
Same. I've read 117 books this year.
Yeah. I only listen to books now, but I'm listening to a great book called Atomic Habits, and, getting into that. And I've always got one of those going. And I think that piece is important. I like listening to podcasts. One of the things that's really interesting about the OOH Insider is hearing things from people that are in the industry, like Craig Brenner. And I've been fortunate enough to meet Craig before, and, to really hear him take a deep dive on what he's thinking, what decisions he's making, how he sees the industry going. I think it's so important to follow your own industry, but also, hop out and listen to some other things too that might give you an idea or two, or at least help you frame things in a different way. And we're constantly trying to improve ourselves and our knowledge base.
It's huge. Brian, where do folks connect with you? Where do they learn more about VenueX? Tell people what your Latin longs are.
I'm on LinkedIn. Certainly feel free to send me a connection. I'm open there. And VenueXmedia.com is our website, and you can download our media kit and learn a little bit more about the network on our website. But LinkedIn is where you can connect with me personally, for sure. And I'm not super active on there, but we try to put out an update every so often on what's going on with the venues, and it's easy to find me on there, and easy to get to VenueXmedia.com.
Easy enough. We'll make sure to link out to everything below. Brian, thanks so much for being here.
Hey, thank you so much, Tim. I really an honor to be on the show.
Absolutely. It's an honor to have you, sir. If you are listening to this and you found it to be helpful, please share it with somebody else who could benefit. Only 30% of you are subscribed, so make sure to smash that subscribe button down below in the corner, and we'll see y'all next time.
Quarter century, I finally came to my senses. I finally got my hand up on the tinted Benz, kid. I see the world clear through my tinted lenses. With the dream and the drive, the possibilities endless. Now print that, send this all the way to Tokyo. Take a trip down south, down to Mexico.